Hey there, everybody. It's the Gun Cranks. Yes, we're back. We're all together and we're all grouped up here, and we're scared to death. We're frightened. There's Chinese balloons over the top of us, or well, at least the one we were all talking about just got whacked earlier this week. But we thought, let's talk about
You're
it.
welcome.
So
That was me.
Yeah. I'm okay. We didn't do this part. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. There's American Handgunner editor Tom McHale, and our special assignments editor, who hired both of us, Roy Huntington. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
You know, one of my favorite things is to mess with you while you're trying to do the introduction.
Yeah.
That's our life.
There, I got it off my chest. I feel much better now.
That's our life.
Well, what you don't realize, Tom, is I've got a little screen below the camera, so I don't watch you because I'm watching the camera. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it because I didn't see it.
Yeah. Swing.
Did you give me the multi-finger salute or what? You didn't take your cod piece off, did you?
No, we better get on topic here.
Well, seriously, this came up. Tom and I came up with the topic kind of independently of each other. I got it because a reader sent me an email and said, what's the vertical range on a 30-06? Because I may want to shoot this balloon down. And I'm like, well, I never thought about that. I researched it.
Yeah.
And do you know what it is, Roy? Because I couldn't find a table that gave the straight up.
We'll save it for the actual show, though.
Yeah, I know what that is too. So
okay,
I'm feeling like you're kind of lame in the credibility front for this show. But
yeah, we can. Yeah, we can leap right into it.
Let's go.
A 30-06, 150 grain, like good factory heavy 30-06 load can go. Anyone? Any guesses?
10,000 feet.
Guess, Brent. You say 10,000. What do you say?
Oh, that's in the ballpark. 10,000.
Yeah, pretty close to 13,000 feet, depending on the little, whatever idiosyncrasies. And that appeared to be, if you went in some of the bigger magnums, like 300 Win Mag, it would chase another 1,000 to 2,000 feet. But basically, all those videos of like across, as it flew across Alabama, there's all these rednecks throwing beer bottles at it and stuff.
I hadn't seen that.
You probably
those go about 8 feet, I think.
Yeah.
A beer bottle.
I don't know. If somebody was coming close with a beer bottle, you need to sign him to your Major League Baseball team.
But I had this
Roy,
vision.
You're not factoring in one thing, though.
What?
Are you firing from an anti-gun state or a gun rights state?
Exactly.
Because the drag, you got to factor in the drag.
And how high you are, because if you're
my 10,000 foot answer
was
assuming you're shooting from Delaware, which is kind of mostly anti-gun. So
what about spin drift? Because that would be a factor.
I've had that before. Yeah, where you get spin drift and you wake up the next day and you can't remember anything. Yeah.
I think we're talking about two different things here.
I actually dove into that. How far bullets go a little deeper, and they said, it depends on where you are. If you start at 5,000 feet, you start at 10,000 feet, they brought it up higher and higher. Okay. And then they said something that I hadn't really thought about was that, of course, as it gets higher, there's less wind resistance. So the bullet goes higher, So I think if you started like in Denver in your backyard, so you're at 5,000 feet and then add 12 to 15,000 feet to that, you're still way too low to shoot the 60,000 foot. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, think about it, at the top of that trajectory, you have, at the very top, you have 0 foot per second velocity. True. And for the last 1,000 feet or whatever, you may not have enough to puncture a Mylar balloon, much less, whatever the Chinese make it out of. I don't know.
I saw.
Go ahead.
I saw Mythbusters where they had a Garand and they took it out in the middle of this huge, dead ocean bed or something. And so they were shooting it straight up in the air. And at the time, I don't know, I just kept thinking, well, it's 3,000 or 4,000 feet up or something. And I was surprised that they weren't recovering any bullets. But 12,000 feet, I mean, good Lord, it's up there and it gets pushed off by the wind. And no wonder they didn't recover any bullets.
But here's what's interesting about that. A lot of people think, well, then it's coming down at whatever feet. What it's coming down at is terminal velocity for a chunk of lead.
Yeah.
It will go no faster because there's no other force acting on it. It starts at 0 and gravity, which is what? X feet per second. But once it reaches the point where the weight pulling on gravity and the drag the wind resistance of the bullet, it will go no faster. And I've had that argument with people before, that and the whole line of sight, bullet flight and all that. Those two things people can't get their heads wrapped around for some reason. But
so what's your ballpark velocity for a bullet tumbling from the sky?
Actually,
Mythbusters
Mythbusters did that, and it was surprisingly low.
Yeah,
it's like 200 to 300 feet per second.
Yeah,
depending on the
exactly.
round.
Yeah, well,
it would still hurt, but
we had somebody get killed in after a 4th of July extravaganza in San Diego, and so the lab was tasked with finding out, could they establish a trajectory, because they had a bullet impact on this guy and a sort of where it went across his body and stuff. So I was really interested to learn that if you have a pointed, like 150 grain rifle bullet at 350 feet per second, if it hits you like in an area like between your clavicle and your neck, where it's soft tissue, it can actually penetrate, really? At that velocity. Yeah.
Wow.
So they said, but that's very hard to do that. And they said most of the people who get hurt with 4th of July stuff are people who fire at an angle like this. Mm-hmm. So the bullet's doing a parabola, right? So it's
still at forward velocity.
Yeah, plenty of velocity.
Terminal velocity. Yeah.
Yep.
Plenty of velocity.
And coming down, they're probably tumbling. So at some point it's nose down, but at other points it's sideways or the rear facing downwards. So that would be a pretty complicated. You could average the velocity, but I think it would be hard to do it using calculus. But
yeah, we shot some gel to try to figure that out, and virtually all the time when you were shooting these bullets at 200 and 300, 400 feet per second, these rifle bullets were going back first, the base of the bullet first. It just turned like really fast. So
my question is this: it was shot down over the coast of the eastern United States. Tom, you live on the coast of the eastern United States, and you reload, and you're pretty smart on this velocity and type of thing. What were you doing Sunday afternoon?
Gyrojet. That's the answer.
Dun, dun, dun.
That is the answer. See, now let's hold that thought for 1 second, because we got to close out a little of the bullet thing, because I saw a bunch of comments online, and you know what they say about comments online. Never read them, but I did. and without fail, there was always the guy, wherever you go, that said, well, yeah, but that 10,000 or 12,000 feet is for a 30-06, not a 50 BMG. I'm like, well, guess what? You're still not going to 60,000 feet, because 50 BMG, the fastest is like 4,000 feet per second. And that's for a Sabo round, right? A little lighter weight deal. So yeah, you're still not getting there. But,
well, somebody said, oh, hey, I have a friend with a 20 millimeter Lati anti-tank rifle. That's from the 40s, I think. And so I was nosing around and stuff, but like you say, Tom, nope, still won't do it.
Not even close. So that's why I had to go to the gyrojet, because they're self-propelled. Because what I figured, rather than just a big initial boom, you needed sustained thrust, or I needed sustained thrust to get to the balloon. So what I did was I did like a 50 BMG version of a gyrojet, a big long.
I'm surprised that the model rocket guys didn't get involved in this, because they shoot them up pretty damn high sometimes. I don't know if they hit.
I was going to say, I built a firework about 10 years ago that scared me enough that it might have done that, but I don't know.
Hey, did you hear that they recovered some of the wreckage and it had some markings on it? Yeah.
No.
Made in China?
It said Harbor Freight.
Wow.
One use and it breaks.
Okay, now here's the serious geopolitical question that gets into domestic strategy and the political implications. I argued with a buddy yesterday, and I said they've been tracking that sucker probably since it was crossing the ocean, and I'm sure they've even got optic devices that read the fine print on the bottom, Harbor Freight on the bottom. I don't think they couldn't decide what to do. And I know everybody wants to say Biden was clueless and blah, blah, and the Pentagon saying, no, he wanted to shoot it down. And we said, no, I don't believe any of that. I think they knew and they had a plan, and they finally decided once it got over the water, they'd drop it there. But do you guys think that or not?
I have a scientist friend of mine, and he said they won't shoot it down over the land. And I said, why is that? And he said, because at the height it's running, it can't use standard batteries. And he said, we were afraid it may have a very small nuclear power supply. And he said, so they probably don't want to risk that. That's why they did it over the ocean, because like you say, they could have shut it down any second.
Yeah.
Right? And
but couldn't we have accomplished the same safety factor shooting it down over New Jersey or something, or California?
No loss,
Chicago.
New Jersey. Click.
Chicago. There you go. So,
Chicago.
It wouldn't make
Was that
downtown
inappropriate?
Chicago any less safe.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a first, guys. That's got to be like our big sell line for this whole episode. Nukes aloft. You think
Nukes
Fox News gets you
aloft.
spun up? We're getting it going. Nukes aloft.
So really,
you do have to say though, regardless, it's really lame that we let a foreign, and I would say enemy lightly, a foreign enemy fly something over our entire country over a week, several days, and not do anything about it. That's just,
I think they let it go on
pathetic.
purpose because they wanted to see what it was doing and what it could do, because it can't see anything there that they don't already know about. I mean, we don't have top secret, nuclear weapons laying on the outside, So yeah, it sees missiles.
Not.
Yeah, okay, it sees missile silos. I mean, they can read a newspaper from orbit now. So it's like, I think
But
if it was
missed the point though. That's not what it was there for. It was there to drop little advertisements to manufacture stuff in China.
By Harbor Freight.
You didn't get any? They fell all over South Carolina.
I still find it hard to believe that a country would actually think that technology would work. I'd be curious to know how many have they sent that didn't go where they wanted it to go, right?
Yeah.
And because remember in World War II, the Japanese sent, it was like 1,500 firebombs with balloons, like rice paper. And I think 2 actually made it here, doing the
They set a barn on fire or something somewhere?
Yeah, it had a little forest fire. And then evidently one of them had a bomb and it landed, didn't go off. And it actually blew up and killed like a school teacher and 2 little kids who found it. And because they said, that was the only death on American soil during World War II from the enemy. So, but yeah, go ahead.
I just watched a fascinating documentary, seriously, this week that the English did the exact same thing, and I thought this is brilliant. They put balloons up with long wires trailing, and they sent them over the continent. And as soon as they'd hit a power line, they started having problems. So it turns out it was very effective, but getting it up high enough, they had to come up with a way that it didn't deploy the wire until it got over France. Because the first few attempts, it's like, we didn't think about that. They shut their own power off. But actually, it was a top secret program, and it was relatively effective. And I thought, how simple and how brilliant! Just send a balloon over with a big long wire, and it'd screw something up. And apparently, it did.
I'll be damned. I would have never thought that. They had barrage balloons to keep planes up high, So, yeah, that's good. Maybe this was the test, preliminary test for barrage balloons to be sent here. I just think there's going to be more to this, and I don't think it's going to be what we think it was. Like they were trying to spy on us with this balloon. I mean,
and hopefully the F-22 pilot, that was the first engagement by an F-22 ever. The very first one, and we dropped a 200-year-old technology.
I saw somebody took one of the F-22s and they photoshopped a little white barrage balloon on next to the cockpit, like as a kill, right?
They painted something on that plane.
Yeah, but I read a treatise kind of on why it was going to be difficult to shoot down, because I hadn't thought of this. These planes, or at least declassified maximum altitude, is like 50,000 feet, and like they said, you can't use guns because then that shoots these 40 millimeter will now blow something up down on the ground, right? And and they said that the Sidewinder missiles aren't intended to engage a target like that. They don't recognize that as a target. Yeah. But I hadn't thought of that. You'd have to get up to like 10,000 feet and then shoot a missile that could go the last 10,000 feet to get the balloon. So I guess it was a little harder than we thought.
Well,
I think they should have watched more
reports.
movies.
Yeah.
I've seen news reports said the missile was unleashed at 57,000. So maybe they wanted to see how high the F-22 can go.
That's right.
One of the Tom Clancy movies, the one where they killed all the drug lords. Remember that one? They used a paper mache bomb. So it would look like a car bomb. They wouldn't have the bomb fragments. So, you'd think with our technology, we ought to be able to make paper mache missiles that function at 60,000 feet. There's going to be more
invite him
coming
on the show.
You didn't see that movie? That was so clever.
I was hoping Tom would admit to shooting down the balloon that created the balloon carrying the nuclear payload. I mean, see, I love that part of it because everybody will get upset. They'll start watching the channel because what did those knuckleheads say?
Well, the radioactive thing is interesting because what's the temperature at 12 miles above sea level?
Too cold for any kind of battery. Regular battery. Negative
50 or something at least. More. I know it's airline height is seriously, isn't airline height like negative 30 or some ridiculous thing?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I just had a sudden vision. Maybe it's not as technologically advanced as we thought. Maybe there's some poor guy going, so cold up here.
Oh, cold up here.
Now he's in the ocean, huh?
Well, somebody actually said, does NASA still have that platform? I think it was NASA or DARPA, maybe DARPA, where they had a 747 set up with a laser that could shoot down satellites.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they said, well, just deploy that. Buzz up there. Bzz, but I think it was all about wait till it gets overseas, over the ocean. Because I guess they didn't want to take it.
That's why, I mean, either our country is totally a dumpster fire and our defense establishment is a train wreck. I don't believe that. No. I'm guessing there was a big conference room with a bunch of people from different branches of the service and things we've never even heard of. I would like to believe they're all sitting around going, I can do this. And I can, no, I can do this. And, well, no, but we can do this. I would like to believe they were all fighting for the opportunity to drop this sucker like a bad habit.
I totally believe that. I think it was a political decision to let it go across the entire country, releasing COVID all over the place. So
that's
the nuclear COVID dropping thing from there you go. We're gonna wreck the internet with this episode.
This is not a coincidence. I came down with COVID a couple of weeks ago. So do we know there wasn't a balloon a little earlier?
That could be.
Didn't get talked about on the news. There you go.
It could be the fact
That's proof right there.
I coughed in your face during all those videos from the SHOT Show. I'm just saying that could be it. But
we have to remember rule one of an intelligence service is to find out the capabilities of the other guy. Right. Mm-hmm. You find out how smart are they? Because we messed that up in the Cold War. We thought the Russians were like really high tech and really good. It was later we found out that they still had diesel submarines. And if they had a nuclear one, it would more than likely sink than not, And so that's why I really think I'm going to vote now. We'll find out. But I think they let it go on purpose to see what it was going to do because it wasn't doing any damage anywhere. Right. Yeah. And then when this
is a comments vote, everybody. Write in your thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, write in your thoughts.
Informal text vote.
Well, because you notice as soon as it went over the ocean, boom.
Yeah.
down. That's like your Harbor Freight skill saw, right?
Everybody in Myrtle Beach watched it, from the beach. They literally watched the thing blow up and go down.
That was a point I was going to make earlier. You said something, Roy, about I hope the folks at the missile base are not going, well, what's that up there? I'd like to think we're a little smarter than that. So who knows? And if they saw me out in the backyard in my Guns Magazine cod piece, well, good for them.
They're all averting their eyes now. Oh, must not fly over.
That's actually an outstanding deterrent strategy to prevent the Chinese from doing this again. Right?
Exactly. It'd be really cool. How about we do this? All the Guns Magazine and American Handgunner readers and all of our video audience and listen to the podcast, Next time one of these goes through, we all go out in the yard and give them the middle finger salute.
Little sunbathing, huh?
No, I'm just giving the middle finger salute, because can you imagine them presenting those to the premier over there? And here is their missile bays, and there's all these people standing there flipping them the bird.
Feisty Americans, huh?
Exactly. We don't want to invade that country. It'll get ugly. So
in World War II, and I forget who, Yamamoto or somebody said that when they said, we should invade the United States, and he said no, because behind every blade of grass will be an American with a gun, right? And so hopefully, if this thing has really high detailed imaging, it's just going to be a series of rednecks outside pointing rifles and shotguns up in the air at it. Yeah. And so they're going to get back and they're just going to go, whoa, too many guns.
I never that's your patriotic duty. Next time one of these flies over,
get out.
Don't shoot up in the air. Don't be reckless, but point your gun right at it.
Point your gun and smile.
That would be great.
Go ahead.
Well, guys, this topic actually turned out even better than I thought it was going to be. This has been fantastic. And maybe we're going to have to do part 2, especially, hey, China, if you're watching, and apparently they always are. They know everything. Send some more. Send some more. We might even.
We need more targets.
That's a little. You know what? I would ask though for lower next time.
Yeah,
like
exactly
5,000 feet, maybe.
Hey guys, do you think the boss Randy would maybe some sponsorship dollars? This surveillance balloon brought to you by American Handgunner.
There was actually a guy. It was years ago at the SHOT Show, and you could rent time on this balloon, and it actually flew over the booths in the SHOT Show.
It was a remote control, like Goodyear blimp, a smaller one, and it
you could
over,
have it was an LED thing on the side of it. And right after that, I remember it was soon after that, Pete Brownell came into our booth to say hi or something. He had this big square, it was a red LED screen when we had red LEDs, right? And it was scrolling. And it was saying like Brownell's home of the, so he was like this walking, scrolling red billboard. And I thought, please do not let this catch on, and I noticed it didn't catch on, but it was pretty cool when I saw it. So,
well, we haven't told you about our next plan, Roy. When we get you to the SHOT Show next time. Roy Huntington, sponsored by Guns Magazine. Wow. Well, guys, we got to cut this short. As much fun as this has been, like Tom said, leave us your comment. Was this a ploy? Was this a plan? What do you think it was? But before we go, Roy, we just put out a cool new book. You want to talk about that?
I do. I'm going to hold this up so you can see. It's a book about Smith & Wesson, and it basically is every article over about the last 10 or 12 years in American Handgunner magazine about all things Smith & Wesson, and from all our magazines. And there is, it's like 360 pages or something like that. And so it's all your authors that and all the high quality photos and the good editing and the good gun stories and whatnot, all in one place, all about Smith & Wesson, old guns, new guns, you name it. It's available on Amazon, and just look for FMG Publications, and you'll be able to buy this and other fancy annuals and other things that we sell there. So
very cool. So don't forget to check out, if you want to listen to this instead of see us, because we do have faces for radio, you can check out the Gun Cranks audio podcast on all the podcast directories. Don't forget to check out the Guns Magazine podcast on those same directories. And you can always get all this stuff, all this great stuff through gunsmagazine.com and americanhandgunner.com. And don't forget our friend Eric over there at americancop.com. So guys, any parting words as we conclude this really informative, in-depth, deep dive into the nuclear powered COVID spreader that we've discovered?
I can't top that. You win.
I'm not giving up.
Okay.
I know we've proven with physics that 15,000 feet's about the limit, but I'm looking at 3 reloading presses over here that believe otherwise. So
okay,
I'll get back to you on that so we can come up with a load that gets there.
And remember, China, there are always sponsorship opportunities available.
I can see that one, Guns Magazine, as it floats over, Wyoming.
With a big target on the side. Wouldn't that be the best?
Shoot here. All right.
Okay, we're done. That's it.
Bye.
It's completely gone off the rails as usual. On behalf of Roy Huntington, Tom McHale, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. We'll see you next episode.